Let's take a look at the biggest failures of the Modi government, and I want to bring Rachingappa in to talk about this, because when the question is asked about the biggest failures, 25% of the respondents say price rise is the #1 failure of the Modi government. Unemployment comes in at 17%, economic growth or the perceived lack of economic growth comes in at 12%. Price rise at 25%, Raj. Is that just an immediate concern, or do you think building up to the 2024 elections, that could become a bigger issue?
If you track our polls for the last of them, they show price rise as well as unemployment as the biggest issues. What is remarkable, and that's what I understand, is that normally a government at this stage, in its 10th year, and this kind of economic reaction, dissatisfaction, should have made their numbers plummet, their popularity plummet. Instead, you are seeing that the Modi government's performance ratings are at 59%, down 10%, but still in the 10th year, and as Rajdeep was saying, anti-incumbency should have set in, and as it happened in Dr. Manmohan Singh's case in 2013, it hasn't happened. So we need to understand the phenomenon that, and let's also not forget, that if he calls it the inflection point, there were three major crises that happened during this period. COVID itself, the pandemic and the havoc it caused, the economic distress it caused across, and the Ukraine-Russia war, which caused inflation and a shortage of grains. Through this, any other leader would have been, trembling, and the ratings would have fallen. He has held. So the larger point, I think, is that people believe that even though there might have been setbacks during COVID, he's the man for the job. They believe that, he's been sincere, he's tried hard to do what he is doing, and that there is no other alternative to him. That so far, he has handled all these crises well, weathered the storm, and therefore you see the support that the government is getting.
Nalin Kohli,
and when I say he, Prime Minister Modi,
the most important issues facing this government, issues that people believe will determine voting behavior. 24% said price rise was the #1 issue. 24% said unemployment was the #1 issue. Poverty came in at 8%. At this moment, the government is trying various things on the issue of onions, tomatoes to bring prices down. How confident are you that building up to the 2024 general elections, that's the big political litmus test, price rise would be a lesser factor? Is that one of the key concerns that you would have while you're strategizing in terms of the BJP's approach for the elections, Mr. Kohli?
Thank you, Rahul. I think let me start with a preliminary point. There is a consistent position of popularity of Prime Minister Modi and his government, which broadly is in the late 50s, early 60s, goes up to 72% as per your mood of the nation. Now, interestingly, there are two factors here. There's leadership and performance. Normally, in the last maybe 20 years, 25 years that we've all been on television together, we note that these two sometimes are separate. Leadership is sometimes discussed separately and performance separately. But we have a unique situation since 14, and which is lucky for the BJP, and the people of India are voting for that consistently, is that in Prime Minister Modi, you've got the leader who's also a performing leader. His government, in terms of it, because it's a Modi-driven government, is clearly a performing government, and it's across. I mean, I can talk of several things, whether the fact that from number 10 in the economy, global economy, we are at 5, whether we are at 50 crore bank accounts almost, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan, which is a financial inclusion. Poverty, which is at about 8%, perhaps because 80 crore people still receive free rations every month, which started in COVID but has continued. It's a huge program. Or Ayushman Bharat, probably the biggest insurance-based program for health anywhere in the world. So, I mean, there's so much more I can say for the middle class, others. So let's pause for a minute. Yes, what you're just pointing out, price rise, and then you refer to unemployment. Obviously, these are causes of concern. But is the government working in that direction? Yes. That's the answer. This is not a government abdicating from its responsibility. This is not a government that does not understand that if something is going wrong, we need to find a solution. So it's a government with its ear to the ground. And if you ask me how confident I am, given not just the numbers, but given the performance, given the fact that this government is at it all the time, I think 2024 should, subject to, of course, the voters deciding that, because we are a democracy, should be a smooth walk for the BJP and under Prime Minister Modi's leadership.